All right, welcome everyone to the Koochiching County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, December 17, 2024. Would you please help me open with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. First item under county business is to approve the proposed agenda with additions and or deletions. We have one minor slight adjustment to item A9, which is approve Avalon camera system proposal. They're just requesting a notice to proceed to be signed by the county sheriff. So that can be added to the motion of that item 9. And other than that, that's the only addition, and there is no deletion, so I'd accept the motion with the addition here.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Next up is to approve the minutes from the December 10th, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is financial business. Chair would accept the motion for items A, approve courthouse claims, item B, approve highway claims, and C, approve health and human services claims. So A through C.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion on the claims? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to ratify KTI claim. Just for a grant deadline, reporting deadline is all it is, my understanding.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. The next up is designated authority to the administration assistant to approve the 2024 year-end payment claims. And I think these claims will go through, and then we'll ratify them in the new year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We need a motion. We'll get a motion to do that, and then we get to pay the bills at the end of the year.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Next up is consider adopt 2025 county tax levy and county budget. And I've asked Adam, Administration Director Cole here to kind of just give us a brief summary overview of it. Maybe not as quite as detailed as a public meeting. There are copies available if anybody likes, and obviously you can get them anytime you wish. So maybe Adam can just run through it, give us an overview of what this is here. So.
Sure. So before the board today is to adopt the 2025 tax levy and the 2025 county budget. The budget process started in May for the county. Directors put together budgets and presented the preliminary budget to the county board in September. With that, the county board set their preliminary levy at 25.18% increase from 2024's levy. Through the months of September, October, and November, the board met with directors and myself to do line item reviews of the budget. Throughout that process, they were able to reduce the budget by just under about $500,000 to reduce the overall levy to 17.58% increase. So that's what's before them today. That the increase in the levy is about $950,000 to cover our 2024 jail bond debt payment. That's about 14.58% of the 17.58%. And then 3% increase, or $195,000, goes into general revenue to cover some of the inflationary increases related to insurance and wages and general services. So the proposed 2025 levy amount is $7,659,008. The 2025 budget revenues are $39,610,471, with expenditures at $54,007,688, with a total reserve use of $14,397,217. Of that $14 million reserve, $13.6 million is coming from our jail bonds to help cover jail construction, and the remainder is net reserves from different funds to help cover the budget expenses. We're also asking the board to authorize myself to assign fund balances in accordance with the state auditor's guidelines and county fund balance policy for cash flow. And that further, that the 2025 budget remains open and subject to adjustments at any time to respond to funding cuts or other changes as a result of actions at the state and federal legislative level. So the requested board motion is to approve the 2025 net tax levy of $7,659,008, which is a 17.58% increase from the 2024 levy. The 25 levy breakdown is as follows: general revenue, $2,457,970. Community services, $1,678,031. Public health, $100,000. Highway department, $1,522,558. Environmental services, $260,449. 2022 jail bond debt of $690,000. 2024 jail bond debt of $950,000. And further to adopt the 2025 budgeted revenues in the amount of $39,610,471 and expenditures in the amount of $54,007,688, and the use of reserve funds in the amount of $14,397,217. And to authorize the administration director to assign fund balances in accordance with the state auditor's guidelines and county fund balance policy for cash flow, and further approving that the budget remains open and is subject to adjustments.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very good. Thanks for that overview, Adam. And with that, I would request a motion to the wishes of the board.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson.
Thank all the department heads for their hard work on that, getting that budget back down where it was at, down to what we got it down to too.
Yeah, when you look at where we're at, I think that's a testament to be literally 3%. You know, we had some insurance increases that were very significant, and we obviously, it's a negotiation year, which is a three-year cycle, obviously too. And then with our indebtedness here with the jail, that's the largest chunk of this. So, and I know we're all working on how we can fund this too with our legislators and through the state and federal government. So I know we're all working hard at that, and we'll have another legislative session coming up here, and hopefully our legislators will dig in and we can ease the pain a little bit here. But I really do appreciate everybody digging in and looking and going line by line, and thank the board here too for being patient with that line by line. But I feel that was a good deal. I personally learned a lot going line by line, so it never hurts. It gets a little tedious at times without lunch, but we made it through all these here, and
Keep you guys focused.
we had some good meetings. Yeah, so I appreciate everybody's hard work on that. So, but we have a first and a second. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next up is to adopt resolution approving interfund loans. And this is for the Island View and Jackfish sewer projects. That's kind of balance the books. And then with the repayment at a later date, kind of at the end of the note, we can figure out what we're going to do then. So, and it's, let's get into the numbers here. A temporary interfund loan. This is a requirement before the end of the year in order to transfer funds to cover the bond on the two projects out here. We've done this in years past, and it's just an official act. And we do have kind of a commitment to repay that debt to the county when these terms of these notes here, but that has to be discussed amongst Jackfish Board, obviously, and Island View, and then this board here would kind of be in conversations along with the environmental services too. So it's kind of housekeeping at this point right here, and really no solid numbers of repayment. You want to go a little further in the weeds with that?
I don't know that Margaret's reconciled the amounts for the interfund loan balance, but we have a policy, and this is just the formal process to allow us to do that. But yes, so the fees collected do not cover the debt service for both of those projects, and so the board, at the end of the debt service for each of those projects, the board will make a decision on how they want to further collect that. You kind of just explain the process that we go back to the sewer districts, have the conversation, ultimately a board decision on how they want to collect any outstanding balances to repay the general fund.
Will we ratify the amounts when we know what they are at the end of the year?
We certainly can.
Okay, maybe at the first part of the year, whenever we know what those numbers are, we can have those amounts ratified here in this body. So the formal policy is what this is here, and then we'll ratify the amounts in the new year.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. The next up is to award bid for official newspaper for 2025 publications. Margaret's here. She took care of this here, but the county is required to bid for legal publications annually per MS 375.12. An official newspaper has to be designated to meet statutory requirements for publication of the county's legal notices, county board meeting minutes, financial statements, and delinquent tax list. 2 bids were received at the bid opening on December 10th. Rainy Lake Gazette submitted a bid with no increase over 2024 rates. Bear Country Chronicle submitted a partially completed bid form but does not reach a 75% households in Koochiching County. Rainy Lake Gazette publishes once weekly. The Bear Chronicles publishes twice monthly and covers the southern portion of the county. Retaining both publications provides the best distribution of notice to the county public. Recommend award legal bid to the Rainy Lake Gazette for 2025 and continue to publish in the Bear Country Chronicles. And we appreciate them being here, I guess, here. And this is past practice is just to get that information down to that southern half of the county, because they, the other publications would be, I don't know what's available there. I suppose Bemidji and maybe Black Duck. I don't know if they have a publication, but the Bear Country is right out of Northland, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Right. Okay. So wishes of the board.
I'd make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson.
I'd second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion?
Is there, Little Fork have a publication anymore?
Yeah, they have one. I think it's every 2 weeks. Is it once a week?
But they didn't bid.
They must not have known.
Well, I think moving the county board meetings around the county 4 times this next might generate some more interest, so I think it's a good deal. Maybe we'll get input to help.
Yeah. Absolutely. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is consider forgiving interest of KEDA cold weather testing loan. We have some extra information here that Adam got here just this morning. And some of the discussion at the KEDA meeting under item 4.
I can
Sure, go
summarize
ahead.
it.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam, please.
So the county had loaned funds to KEDA for their cold weather testing. Their last payment was due in 2023, however, they did not have funds available to pay it. We did receive payment in October of '24. As we interpreted the loan agreement with them, that the 2% interest would be accrued through the life of the loan, or through the last payment. And their last payment did not include the interest amount of the $1,305.83. So I think the KEDA board, maybe Ricky can correct me if I'm wrong, is requesting that the county forgive the interest of $1,305.83.
And then that would just leave the last payment as an interest-free payment.
Yep. Which at the same time helps their cash flow stay ahead, where they're not taking more money out and have to come back to the city and the county to see if they can borrow more money again.
Yeah, you're gonna have to keep money to pay the bills and then collect it. So yeah, that's a good way to do it. Now, wishes of the board.
I'd make the motion that we forgive their interest payment.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Next up is to amend the August 1st, 2023 board meeting minutes.
So I can summarize this one as well, if that's okay.
Yep, one please.
So, planning and zoning was processing some applications, and they noticed that the August 1st, 2022 board minutes motion, one of the motions did not include a number, the 2023-8- whatever, and they need that to kind of complete their form that they record to track for tracking purposes. So before you today is just to add a number. It looks like it was intended to be 2023/08-08 because the motion before them was 07 and the motion after was 09. It just didn't get approved on the official minutes, and this would amend those minutes to officially number this motion. The motion still stands, but we just want to number it officially so that it can be recorded, and then if it ever needed to be researched, they could find that motion to see how that happens. Just a little bit of correction in those minutes.
The original motion was from Commissioner McIntyre and seconded by Commissioner Roach on a combined parcel rezoning for IEZ 2304 and conditional use permit application by Tom and Paige Junker at Forky's Building Supply LLC to rezone parcel ID number 15-0630-00150 from R2 medium density to RR1 residential recreation. The request for a conditional use permit in order to convert the existing residential dwelling located at 2917 Down Road 276, International Falls, Minnesota, legally described as lots 15 and part of lot 16, Crystal Point, as described in the recorded document number 302163 into a short-term vacation rental property with the following conditions. And the conditions are within from the planning and zoning. So, like I said, just kind of going over what that was and what it was. So, other than just a little housekeeping. Okay. All right.
Need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. And we're gonna go to human resource business, looks like. Good morning, Brian.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Yeah.
The last Tuesday of the year, we be here officially at least.
Right.
You have a couple of notifications.
Yeah, these are notifications. It was found that in past board meetings that Sandra Thompson's promotion to Treasury Assistant to replace Shelley wasn't notified, but that has happened, and now the Auditor Treasurer office is now whole. Courtney Knudsen, as you know, has taken over Sandra's position and has been training. So just wanted to make sure the board knew of that promotion and that it was properly documented.
Thank you and welcome. And the next one is for a part-time bailiff.
Part-time jury bailiff, I did not have time enough to get this into the last board meeting, so I just wanted to inform you of part-time hire for jury bailiff for the request of John in the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, Brian. Anything else?
That is all I have to
All right.
report today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up is to approve a Lignon camera system, a proposal for new jail and law enforcement center. Now, Adam, Administration Director Cole, has kind of been sat in on a couple of those, I think, and maybe IT Director, IS Director O'Bear has also been involved with that, so maybe you have a little more information. I know.
Sure. For the new jail project next door here, we needed a new camera system to meet the requirements and then ensure safety and tracking of operations over there. Per our statutory requirements, we either needed to go out for bid or we needed to go through group purchasing. We went through group purchasing through Sourcewell. Motorola's bid originally came in, I think, closer to $380,000. We asked them to take another look at it. They brought it down to $330,568. It's been vetted by ICS, Justin O'Bear and Aaron Hedlund, Sheriff Hedlund. And so the recommendation is that we approve my signature to the bid document. And then yesterday we received a notice to proceed document from Motorola that is requesting Sheriff Hedlund's signature to authorize them to order the equipment and ship it to DSC, who will be the installers of the program. So really just looking for approval of this purchase, as well as signatures from myself to the bid document and the signature of the sheriff to the notice to proceed document. We did consider going out for a competitive bid, but in talking to some of the vendors, 2025 pricing was going to go up considerably, and so we felt that accepting this bid was probably in the best interest of county and the taxpayers.
The open source gives you a little flexibility to do that.
Say that again?
Open source kind of gives you a little flexibility to do this. To be able to vet, yeah, to be able to vet the companies and kind of get pricing.
The group purchasing?
Yeah.
Sourcewell?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly they're vetted, they're contracted with Sourcewell, they're vetted, they're contracted with their pricing, so.
And DSC is already kind of in place here a little bit too.
DSC is our current vendor, worked on our building multiple times, and so they're out of Duluth, I believe, and so it's nice to have a local partner to troubleshoot our system down the road as well. They've done good work for us.
Is this part of the jail bonds be covering the portion
Jail
of
bonds will
this?
be covering this. I know the estimate for this project was around $300,000, so this came in a little higher. But the project bonds will cover the expense, or the contingency funds will cover that expense.
Thank you. No issues of the board?
I'll make the motion to accept the bid.
Thank you, Commissioner Overbeck.
And approved signatures?
And approved signatures, yes, please.
Authorize.
Along with the addition of Sheriff Emlin.
Your signature.
Yes, that was part of the,
Administration director's signature to the bid document and sheriff's signature to the notice to proceed document.
notice of proceed, yes, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Right, next up we have a warrant void. Hi, Derek.
Hey.
Morning.
I have a short one here for you guys. We just have a warrant void in the amount of $35.50. It was for a license renewal from our client flex funds that wasn't necessary. So,
Very good. Make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
And motion
That was the
carries.
easiest one so far today.
Excellent. All right, thank you. Next up, highway.
Morning.
Morning.
The Highway Department has 4 items to address today, but first I'd like to formally introduce our maintenance supervisor, Jake June. So Jake was hired back in, was it May? Yeah. And I guess I realized that I hadn't brought him in, so figured it'd be good for him to get out in front of the public and in front of the commissioners here, and so you've got a face with a name now, or a
Thank
name
you.
with a face.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Are you enjoying it so far?
Yeah, I think it was a good move.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jake was formerly with MnDOT as heavy equipment operator and lead
Okay.
out of the work. So,
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
yeah, he works out of the International Falls shop. We reached at the 1185 number, or the maintenance supervisor's cell phone number.
What about at like 2 in the morning, is he?
Yep. Yeah, he's still at the shop.
Always next to me, so same phone Wally had.
Yeah.
No, they do make a shut off for the ringer, so you have to listen to it.
We'll see,
All right, first item here is authorized board chair and county auditor treasurer to sign updated agreement between the Minnesota Department of Revenue and Koochiching County. This is in reference to our local option sales tax for transportation, that .5 sales tax that we've been collecting since what was it, end of 2021, I believe, beginning of 2022. They seem to have updates on a yearly basis, adjusting some rates and whatnot. This latest one reduces the administration fee that they collect from us. They went to a new method here back in 2023, and they had it at 1.35% of what we take in. They skim off 1.35% of that for their administrative fee. They reduced that now to 1%. So
That was nice of them.
yeah, right. So yeah, this is just acknowledging that and authorizing the board chair and auditor treasurer to sign off on it.
Sounds good. Wishes of the board?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll say.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Just for reference on the local option sales tax, we've finished up 4 major projects so far using those funds. County Road 72 was our first project. That was a resurface out south of Little Fork on 65. County Road 76. This year we did a full depth reclamation on that project. Successful. The UT 383 box culvert down around Silverdale, we replaced that last year, as well as the grade raise and box culvert out on County Road 134. You might remember as part of the Cattail project. So, improved flow through that area. All right, item number 2. Authorize the highway department to purchase 1 small fleet truck from North Country GM via state bid for $42,040.96. You'll remember I came to the board here a couple weeks back, a month back, to request authorization to quote on 1 small fleet truck. Sent requests out to the 2 local dealers here. We received 1 quote back from the Ram dealer. They came in at $43,158 for the smaller base 6-cylinder, $45,428 for their 3-liter twin turbo. Apparently they don't make an 8-cylinder anymore, so this is their replacement, I guess. And then went to state bid and looked at the Ram trucks and the GMC trucks, and I focused on the GM products and the Ram products because that's the dealers that we have in town now for service and whatnot. Ram came in at $43,907 for that twin turbo 6-cylinder. The GMC came in at $42,040.96, and that was for the 8-cylinder. So this truck is programmed to go to Lowman. Lowman pulls a drag quite often. Now the last 4 trucks that we've got, 4 trucks that we've got have had the small 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, which for us driving around seems like a great engine. I don't know that I trust it quite yet for pulling large loads, so that's why we spec'd it out for the size 3. You'll see that the GMC is less expensive than the Ram. If it was maybe a little bit closer, we'd go local, but it's several $1,000s. So between the $45,000 and the $42,000 when we're comparing apples for apples. Again, this truck is programmed to go down to Lowman. It'll replace a 2011 Silverado that we purchased from Lance & Forrest back in 2020. got about 160,000 miles on it.
Are you gonna keep that one or are you gonna sell it? Maybe.
We might use it up here for summer students, just, very local roads. It just depends on what our other fleet is looking like at that moment.
Trent, and this is from the 2025 budget, right?
This is in the 2025 budget, correct?
Wishes of the board.
I'll make a motion, buy a truck.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion? I like the V8s. Sorry, I'm a fan of them. I've had the V6s, and no offense to V6s, like you say, for cruising around or in a car or something like that. But gosh, with those V8s, you can't. They get good mileage too, really. You take it easy on them and don't go 80 miles an hour. They get pretty good mileage. So.
Like I said, the last four have been the 2.7 liter, turbocharged.
Yep.
Got a lot of power. I think since I got the one that replaced my vehicle, I've averaged 22 miles a gallon. But when you take those small displacements and bump up the horsepower, you're always worried about them burning out at some time. And if they're getting worked hard, naturally aspirated V8, you can't beat it.
Were they, and now this off subject, is it all the vehicles are going to go to this now, or they're going to like weed out the regular gas engine V8s, or?
I couldn't tell you. Toyota made the switch. You've now seen Ram make the switch. Ford feels like it's been trying to make that switch with, I think they got a 3.5 liter, 6-cylinder.
3.7. They got two V6s, and they still got the 5 liter, and that's what they got.
And they've got the 4-cylinder as well. I think they've got a 2.7 as well.
Well, maybe that's what it is, 2.7 and 3.
Yeah.
They might be good for something, but not for working at all, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then the base engine in the Rams, it's a 6-cylinder, but it's a pretty small engine as far as horsepower and torque goes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Third item. Get there. Third item is award SAP 036-598-032 to Northland Constructors of Duluth for $1,838,850. You'll remember this project as the County Road 101 bridge replacement. We originally bid it back in April and we received no bids. Rebid it and opened bids on the 26th of November. We received two bids, one from Northland and the other one from Redstone. We were a little bit surprised. The bids came in over engineer's estimate. The engineer's estimate was $1.4 million. Had a lot of conversation with the designer of the bridge as well as MnDOT on how we fund this and where we missed. The unit pricing impacts, of course, first one is location. It's out there in the middle of nowhere. You probably won't find a more remote bridge from materials than this one. Commercial traffic, I think the contractors were a little bit hesitant about the potential amount of logging traffic that's going to be going over the bridge the bypass while it's there. The high performance bridge slab concrete, MnDOT is recommending this new bridge mix, 3Y HPC-M. They had some trouble with it last year. Contractors weren't super familiar with it. It was setting up a little bit faster, so there was some rework that had to be done. So So there's some risk that goes along with that. And then also bridge funding. The last few years, we've seen a significant amount of bridge funding from the state, and it could be, there's just a lot of work out there for these 3 or 4 contractors that do bridges, and that could drive prices up. The thing is, both contractors were very close in their bid, within, I think it was less than $100,000. So that tells me that their numbers are fair, well thought out. Yeah, we just missed on it, I guess. We could potentially rebid. I don't know that we would have any cost savings with the rebid, simply because the bids are fairly close together. A lot of our numbers were right on. There was just 4 that weren't. The bypass, we were off on. The bridge slab concrete, we were off on. Mobilization was escalated. And then I think the prep work for the piers as well, or the abutments, was escalated. So we'll do some negotiating. If this gets approved, we'll do some negotiating with Northland as well to see if we can do some value-added engineering, and maybe change up some things to try and reduce that cost. Let's see, I wanted to talk about the bypass. So, there was potential that we could pull that bypass out and save the $300 and some odd $1,000, but again, with the commercial logging that happens back in the Indian Pines and Fiora Road, I don't think that that's an option. We've also got residents back behind that bridge, past the bridge, which would result in over a 99-mile detour for those folks. And I think that equates to over 2 hours driving back on the forestry roads. So that was some consideration that was also done. Original local bridge replacement grant was for $382,000. I was able to negotiate with MnDOT and get it up to $1,249,084.21. So that leaves $589,765.79 to be covered with our local option sales tax funds.
Good work.
What does that leave your local option balance looking like that?
After that project is paid for, I'm estimating as we go out into that into 2025, but I would say we'd have probably about $500,000 in reserves in that when this project is complete.
What would happen if we didn't replace that bridge?
I would get lectured by the MnDOT bridge office for a couple of years, and then we would end up having to shut it down and reroute when the bridge gets to a certain condition.
That's a Cassaw Road.
Nope, that is a county road.
And they have power to tell you to replace it.
Or our bridges, yeah. So we do bridge inspections on, this particular bridge gets inspected once a year because it's in bad shape. So LHB does our bridge inspections. They come to me, I review them, and then they go down to the MnDOT bridge office, and the MnDOT bridge office reviews them as well.
Well, we probably use that bridge as much as anybody. The cost, or the 31% over, kind of boggles my mind.
It's not quite 31%, but with the addition of the grant, it leaves about 170,000-ish over the engineer estimate.
Our portion would be, yes,
Right, yeah.
correct.
That's the addition, overall addition at least. I know then the percentage on both sides is higher, but our percentage of it is at 160 or 170,000. It's considerable.
Yeah, prices do go up. We've seen that here. We rebid twice, but them numbers were, them two numbers come in close at that large amount. They were both bidding tight.
Yep.
I felt, but it's still a huge cost.
I agree. I mean, they're responsible bids. And we probably wouldn't save any money. I'm just
No,
wondering.
right.
I mean, but I do think the county board needs to do some of the requirements for these projects are kind of crazy. You know, the reality is that road doesn't get used a whole lot.
How long is that gonna take? One summer?
From May to first part of October.
So how much wood is gonna come out of that area? How much? Yeah, I wonder how much wood is gonna come out of that area. Meaning, if that's a $300,000 bypass that they're worried about, maybe just making it good enough for vehicles to get through, right? An ambulance and the vehicles, and the wood might have to wait for that 6-month stretch. Just a thought. I have no idea. But
Well, I agree. I think there could be some coordination there, and but the fact remains is, you know, Commissioner's right there that there is public that's back there that has to have access across there. Wouldn't take near as much, but as far as a heavy haul, I think there could be some coordination and some, but I mean, we're probably past the time for that to happen. If we were at an earlier point in time, I maybe would have went to the mill and said, hey, you know, here's what's going to happen. Plan that way, will you please? Or can we plan that way? And I don't think that would have been an issue. For ourselves, we have some timber back there that would likely come that way, but we have stuff that could go the other direction too.
is there much summerwood back there anyway? Summerwood? Is there much summerwood
Yeah,
for
there
cutting?
is some summerwood back there, yeah.
That's a good place to cut off the Indian pine specifically. You know, it's fairly dry area.
Could there be any value engineering? We find out who's back there and what contracts got to come out? Is that worth
There
looking into, or?
There could be value engineering in the reduction of a bypass. To what amount, I don't know. I really want to make sure that the folks back there have egress. You know, there's two families back there. One, I believe, is a bus driver, has a route out of, I don't know if it's Little Fork or International Falls.
Lake of the Woods.
Lake of the Woods? Okay. So, yeah, if he had to, he would have to drive down the Indian Pines over to 72 and then up to Lake of the Woods. You know, Indian Pines is a pretty good road, I'll say that. But, you know, I suppose there could be times where it's not passable. Yeah, the project's an expensive one. You know, the last actual bridge replacement that we did, other than the overpass, the last bridge replacement that we did was County Road 99 down by Ray. A little bit smaller of a bridge, but we were looking at about $1 million for that bridge. That did not have a bypass on it. We were able to close the road. There were outlets on both sides. Not nearly as remote as this one. You know, looking at unit prices on select granular, I would say they're hauling a long ways, really long ways. You know, our estimate had $30, $38, something like that. and they're charging $80. That tells me they're likely bringing material from Happy Land. So,
Well, to me, it's more like the requirements of having to have that span bridge there. Honestly, I'd put a couple of big box culverts in there and call it good. That has to be cheaper, doesn't it?
well, we did go through all the hydraulics, and the box culverts just wouldn't work for that.
Can they put a box culvert in for a bypass?
That would be more expensive to put a box culvert. They basically have old I-beams that they just lay out, and you drive over those.
I guess my point is that we need to be talking to those people about the cost of things like that, and I'm not, I don't think that the bids are irresponsible. They could probably find granular closer than that, but if you can work on that, that would be good.
Yeah, a lot of the bridge contractors, they'll reach out to local grading services. You know, a Redstone or Northland will reach out to, you know, the Wagners, the KGMs, those companies for all their dirt work, and you know, those folks give them a price, and that's what they pass on to us.
Some of the best gravel in the country is 15 miles from there. But I'd make the motion to approve the bid. Or did we already make the motion?
Well, after all that, I wasn't sure, so yes, you got the motion. Thank you. Thank you for the discussion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell. Any other discussion? That's good that you got that number up to with the grant. That helps a little bit too, so we know it's a little bit more, but
So over the next few years, we will have a handful of additional bridges that we'll be replacing, and we'll, you know, there won't necessarily be the same bypass or the same remote location as this, but we will adjust our numbers when we're coming up with an engineer's estimate to reflect what we saw in this one.
well, good idea. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is a grant, heavy equipment grant. Potential.
Yeah, so it's no board action at the moment. This is just informational. We wanted to give you folks a heads up that we applied for MPCA Clean Heavy Duty Off-Road Equipment Grant. MPCA, in their journey to get old equipment off the land, I guess. They have a grant that offers to pay, in our case, up to 25% the purchase of a new EPA certified piece of equipment. In this case, we were looking at our 1989 Cat 140 motor grader down in Silverdale. Thought that would probably be a good candidate. So yeah, this is a competitive grant. Pays up to 25% of the cost of new, not to exceed $500,000 in the grant disbursement. Yeah, new grader.
424,000, I believe. So
424.
the grant request was for $106,000 of that cost.
And again, this isn't a 2025 project. Grant would need to be spent by September 30th of 2026. In our long-term planning, this grader was scheduled to be replaced in 2026. So we're not currently spending extra money if we get this grant outside of what is what we will have budgeted for 2026.
Well, how long does it take to get a grader nowadays? Are they fairly available, or is there a timeline or a
We'd
wait?
probably be looking at 6 months.
6 months. So if you found this out, when's the
I
grant
think it
award?
closes on this Friday, and
This Friday.
I think a couple of months probably we would.
Or, you know, so we could budget for it for 26
4 to 8
perhaps?
weeks, we
Yeah.
would know whether we were successful with it or not.
Okay.
Being 30-something years old, it's time to replace it anyway.
Yeah.
It is. It's got a lot of hours on it. We have a sister machine to this over in Birchdale, which doesn't have quite as many hours on it. But yeah, they're old equipment. The downfall of this, we wouldn't be able to sell this motor grader. We would have to decommission the engine, basically place a hole in the block. We could sell it for scrap, I suppose, but yeah, that's part of the grant.
What would you get for it anyway? I mean, just curious.
You know, we sold Little Forks back in 2018, and I think we got $15,000 for it. Somewhere around there.
We're net 90 if we get the grant type thing? Okay.
Yeah,
That was with the hole in the block on that one too, or no? That was just running?
that was right.
Or you put a hole in the block and all you've got is scrap iron.
Some old machines will just keep on running around doings. You just hear nightmares of all the emissions on them and gen and you know, it's just,
Well, that old cat might run with a whole.
it probably would.
It probably will.
All depends how good you are at cutting the hole
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Strategical.
Yep.
You would think that they'd be able to count more than 25% match if you've got to scrap the old one. I don't know that, they were doing that with trucks, but I don't remember what
They did it at the county landfill with the excavator and the cat, wasn't it?
We did it with the Komatsu dozer, and
Is that the same grant?
same grant, 25%. In our case, our purchase price was $350,000. We had 87.5 as a grant. We put so the old dozer, we had to put a hole in the block. And then we put it on mint bid, and we got like 30 grand out of it as scrap.
somebody had a motor.
Well, needed parts, undercarriage, whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts there,
Yeah.
right? So, for us, it worked out really well. So, I mean, if you get that grant, that's great. Like you say, the emissions, the DEF systems, and things that you got to deal with the new equipment now. There's more potential issues with the DEF systems, but you've got inside storage there. It's all heated, right? So you're probably in good shape there.
Well, sounds good. If there's anything we can do to help with that, just let us know.
Always save the tires and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like I said, no board action. You know, if we get it, we would need a resolution for the local bridge replacement. I'll bring in a resolution that we'll have to do for that as well, for funding for that 101 bridge. Further updates, our other tandem that's getting outfitted right now, it will be here the middle of January. We kind of hoped mid-December, but it got pushed back. So, in reference to ARPA funds, we've still got some hanging out there. We haven't got a bill for outfitting that truck.
Payment upon delivery type of deal?
What's that?
Payment upon delivery?
Yep. We also ordered that other tandem from the last board meeting. We got approval for that. That'll be built in February. It'll be at Nuss in March, and then go to Tollmaster. And they're thinking probably around October that'll be completed as well. October 2025.
How's the new truck working out?
It seems to be working pretty good. There's a couple things that are different than the old Sterling was for Darren, who's the operator that has the truck. Steering's a little bit stiffer. We might look into that.
It ain't wore out.
Maybe there's a pump that's not pumping
It
or.
sounds like it's a common thing with the Volvos where they're adding auxiliary power steering and stuff like that. When you look on forums and stuff, so maybe something that just needs to be adjusted. We're not sure yet.
Good.
Yeah, it's a nice truck, good visibility and everything. So. Any questions on roads or anything before we leave?
Nope. Good job.
Sounds good.
Weather
So thank you.
dictates road conditions.
Okay.
It does.
Well, thanks for getting out there. I know there's been a lot of calls, but it's been exceptionally different type of weather here too, so with the wind and stuff blowing across the roads, it just...
Every year is
You know.
different. You can't compare winter to winter. You know, this last snow, we got a heavy wet snow and then it got super cold.
Yep.
Really cold. Roads got packed down, and then it warmed up again and things get slippery.
Well, that truck route was glare ice today when that accident happened. You could have skated down it with skates on and not even had to worry about
Was
taking
on
her.
my way into work today, so they were already out on the sand.
Yeah.
He was, sanding, going by as that happened.
Yep.
You drive accordingly.
Yep.
Well, good to meet you.
Yeah, you do.
Good luck
to
and
meet you.
everything, and
Yeah, have a good day.
thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good morning.
Good morning. I see, I dropped off a few calendars. I'm not sure if you guys use those or, but.
I use mine.
Yeah. Kind of handy.
Sure.
So the item that I'm bringing to you is the Solid Waste Advisory Committee appointments. The county established a Solid Waste Advisory Committee that serves as a standing advisory committee for the county board and environmental services. The SWAC committee, Solid Waste Advisory Committee, is comprised of 13 members representing various solid waste interests throughout the county. One of the members we'd like to fill on the committee is the industry representative. I recommend appointing Braden Kolish, who is the environmental manager at PCA. Braden's appointment would replace the position previously held by Dave Burchell, who was also from PCA. Dave went on to a different position. I'd also like to fill the vacant Commissioner District 3 citizen representative position, and I'd recommend appointing Elton Shannon to fill the vacancy on the SWAC committee. And I've spoken to both, and they said they would be willing to do it. So. And Elton was, we didn't have a representative from District 3, and that's what I wanted to make sure we had. And I gave you a list of all the different representatives on the committee and what districts, who's in the districts represented and the different contractors or industry.
Al will do a great job for us.
Yeah, he sounded great. Yeah, yeah. I've known Al for many, many years, and he's a business owner in District 3. He's lives in District 3, and he's represented the county well in many different ways. And I'm sure Braden will be the same.
So you're looking for a motion to fill, you want a separate motion for each of these? or
Sure,
one
that'd be
motion
great.
together?
Yep.
We'll take them one at a time. We'll ask for a motion to fill the vacant Commissioner District 3 citizen representative as to be Elton Shannon. So I would accept that as a motion, the first motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Next motion would be for Braden Kolish for the industry representative, and I would accept the motion for Braden to
I'll make
fill
the
that.
motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
I was the second fastest.
And only a couple pieces of paper.
Yeah, you ran PCA out of business today.
It's good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, next up, we'll go to public comment. Is there anyone in person or online for public comment? Hearing no public comments, do we have any table updates? Anyone?
Nothing for me.
I went to the ATV Joint Powers meeting yesterday, and they got the trail is going to get pushed through. It sounds like all the way into Cooch County for the ATV club from Cap Togama to 3 North, and it sounds like they're working with the DNR and the state of Minnesota to be able to make that come all the way to International Falls.
Very good.
So, Hochschild and Roger Scrubba was there yesterday, and they are working on the $1 million bond, I believe it was, for the Blue Ox Trail.
Yeah, good advice, yeah.
So, and they said all that looks good even with the split house. So we're hoping.
Well, that'd be a great project to get off the ground and get up here. Boy, that's
Absolutely.
a tough area too.
The amount of money that brings in, they did the study for down the southern end of the thing, and they figured it was over $3 million that the four-wheeler clubs bring into the communities when they're rolling through. So any little bit in the community helps.
Oh yeah, and it's fun, it's act too.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, the Visitor and Travel Bureau, they're have lots of ads, lots of commercials on the internet and in magazines to help with, fill up the ATV trails.
Yep.
Lots of stuff about the lake and the rest of the county.
Very good. Commissioner Erickson.
Soil and water, last night district, all the projects that they are doing, they had their retreat at Cobblestone. Big uptake or takeaway for me was that trees are going to cost me more next spring. And some of the native plants and things like that, the things that they're doing, and it's really kind of interesting. I don't know that the public really understands all that soil and water does, but they do put some effort, time and effort and money in, the one watershed, one plan type things, and so yeah, I think they've got a good staff there, young staff, if they keep them, district probably knows as much about it as I do, and
Well, there's a little turnover. And they get their hands in a lot of different.
we got their hands in a lot of different things. The county, they had the cattail project that you're talking about. They had some pictures on that, but not in plant books. They have several boxes of old plant books from 2019, and apparently people want newer models, and they have the ability to do that in-house now, apparently. So they're working on that, and I have a copy of it. My suggestion to them, they were talking about taking the old ones to the landfill. Keep them out of the landfill, put them on the desk at the auditor's office during tax season when people come in to pay their taxes, and charge them $5 for it's an outdated plat book, but people will be thinking about it, and maybe it'll keep it out of the landfill for a period of time. So, I caution them not to overload the staff at the auditor's office. But so whether that happens or not, I don't know. But,
Yeah, them are neat books.
Yeah, I like the older ones better. I mean, obviously they're, like you said, they're
well, the newer ones will be they're a little different, all right. But I think people need to go into them with the idea that these are accurate the day they were printed.
Yep. I've got one of my own. I bought one. A lot of interesting stuff in that little book.
Oh, I've got Beltrami and Roseau and Lake of the Woods and Cooch.
Yep.
It tells you that ownership, not necessarily who, but it tells you ownership.
Right. Anything else? I just mentioned the planning and zoning meeting last week, and we went over the vacation home rental regulations and some of the stuff associated with that, and heard people's concerns, and made a couple of adjustments that I may see. I think some of them are on the permit side of things, and I don't think we really change anything in the actual ordinance, so that may not. But we had good participation, actually, so it was good to see that. There was several people that were here with concerns and brought those issues forward. So, and for the most part and overall, the people were happy with it, and they were appreciative of the look and stuff that they did. So that's good. It worked out well. That's about all I got. Anybody else have anything? All right. At this time, we will close a session for labor negotiations per Minnesota Statute 13D.03, but I would need a motion to close.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
1 second.
Thank you, Commissioner L. All those in favor of closing for negotiations, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we will go into closed session.